Okay, we're going live to YouTube, right? Let me just check.
Yes,
Let me
here we
just
go.
make sure it's going on YouTube. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this special edition of Unlimited. I was putting on necklaces today. I just organized my stuff in my closet, and this is my 444 necklace. And I really encourage everyone to apply meaning. As Adam Curry says, he thinks that the whole, like basically all of reality is organized around meaning. And my meaning might be different from Alan's meaning, might be different from your meaning. But when you give things meaning, whether they're symbols or numbers, then the universe can talk back to you. And my 444 is work with someone. When someone has, like, I was just looking, someone, their phone number was 444, or their email has 444, whatever it is. And Alan has been someone that I've really enjoyed working with over the years. He's part of the LightNet core team, and he has really lived his mission in an incredible way, because he does it like a child. Like he's the most childlike person I know, in the sense that he gets so excited about stuff, and I get so excited because I'm kind of like that too. And it's just like
You are,
so
yes.
fun, so fun.
Yeah.
And tonight we're really celebrating the life and work of Linda Moulton Howe. And I was thinking about her as I was driving over here to do the broadcast. And, those of you who have met Linda Moulton Howe in person, she's tiny. And she's the definition of moxie. She's a live wire. She is like, it's like this weird thing. It's like, oh, she's tiny, but she's actually huge.
She's
And
incredible. She is such
yeah.
a presence. Yes. And
And
I'm into her. I've been with her at expos and everyone wants to talk to her and she's signing books, but she will take all the time she needs with that one person. You will be her whole attention. It's not like, hurry up, there's other people. No. If she will be with, I've seen her. It's like, there's a whole line here, Linda. You can't talk to her. And she goes, no, she talks to every single person. She's
wow.
fantastic. She's 81 years old. I'm not telling things she doesn't tell, but she is so on it and sharp, remembers everything. She is the best UFO researcher in the field, I would say. She
I
really,
feel that, because I was thinking about that today, and I was like, there is no other female that's as accomplished. And
there's no
the
other
thing is,
researcher.
you can be in la la land all you want, but Linda's actually, a hardcore researcher, a hardcore like journalist, and she's touched both the media world with her conviction, the hardcore, like, the journalist part of her. And then
Right.
she's also touched the US government, and like getting in there and saying like, hey, wait a minute, like, what's going on? We want to know. So, and then she's touched our community and all the people that are curious. So it's like she went after the biggest of the biggest in all those domains, and she did it consistently over her life, and she's left one of the biggest legacies that I've ever seen in this field. So wow.
Well, she is not only the best female, she's the best UFO researcher in general. She is the
I
most,
love that. I
but
love that.
really, really in a field of all men, she has risen to the top as the absolute best, most connected. She connects the dots. And she says, this is like being in a hall of mirrors and a quicksand moving floor.
Ooh.
That's how she describes the UFO phenomena, as that complex and changing. And she's as on top of it as anyone can be, because it is such, it's so deep. When you stick your toe in that little UFO disclosure, ET reality, it just sucks you down the rabbit hole. It's so deep. It is, right, Susan? Susan, no.
You and I both got sucked down the rabbit hole. And all of you joining us today, I want to appreciate your curiosity, because that's like there's one question, and then there's the next and the next and the next, and
Well,
everyone else is just like,
and my book is, she has a chapter in my book, but it's a collection of essays, because no one, not the government, not the media, not the military, knows the whole story. There is no whole story. We have pieces missing. So all we can do, and she's the best at putting together what we have and creating a sort of narrative, but there's so much still untold. Still, we are in the middle of a I don't want to say paradigm shift. That's so cliche, but we're in the middle of a huge game-changing moment in human history. Forget paradigm shift. This is a moment in
I love
civilization
you, Alice.
where everything changes. Really, this is everything is off the board. Everything we thought we knew, we want, the nature of reality itself, it's all completely different than anything we have known. And Linda's coming to Sedona. You know that?
Yes, for Suzanne
Oh,
Ross's.
should I
Yeah.
show that poster here? Yeah, let me just show you that. This is Suzanne Ross's poster. There's Linda right next to Daryl Anka. Bashar's coming too.
Very cool. And
And he
Anita and you. So
and William Henry and Matt Kahn, who's
this is in
fantastic.
March, you guys.
And,
Third
and
month of
her
next
talk.
year.
March 8th to the 10th, go to Sedona Ascension Retreats. And yeah, it's going to be a fantastic gathering of people.
And I have loved meeting Suzanne Ross because she's like, you know what? I just kept doing it.
Yeah.
I just kept doing the conferences, and now they've just like blown up. Like, so that's one of the things, we talk about a paradigm shift, like, you were saying it's so ironic, but it's kind of funny because when I did this interview with Linda, I got like literally sick to my stomach, because she was talking about the pain of the ET, just, whole situation. She's talking about dedicating her life to understanding like what is cattle mutilation and what's going on. And I was like, yeah, but we mutilated each other, and we're mutilating the ETs we find, and when we're doing like, we're mutilating each other in Germany. Like it was painful almost to see how, because you guys know, when people shut people down, they shut people down. And that's happened to so many of the people that we're riding on the curve of, like, we're able to talk about what we want to talk about right now, but it's because of people that refused to be silent, and refused to stop asking questions, and refused to be like ignored, and refused to be like, like whatever it is, shadow banned or not put in the press and whatever. And then at the end of the interview, you guys are going to see, she reaches this like super extra beautiful moment where she talks about what we're capable of. So this is really this interview is really a testament to her career,
Oh,
tenacity.
great. I
And
know I
also,
haven't seen it. I was there when you were doing it, but I haven't seen it. I didn't. And Linda says, because we have not been told the truth by the government, by those people in charge, by the military industrial complex, we are an abused race of human beings. It's an abuse to keep us in the dark from the truth. And it's divided people, it's created wars. And now it seems maybe perhaps things are changing as the truth starts to emerge. And she is waiting. Her favorite thing is to say, I'm waiting for the headline in the New York Times that says, "We are not alone in the universe." That's going to be her day. Actually, I thought of making a little newspaper that actually said that and giving it to her. But she is hardcore. She's sticking to what's going on here, and building the big kind of behind the scenes understanding of levels. It's not just people in the Pentagon, it's levels and levels of secrecy that the press and the media are trying to weed through first to see who are these power brokers, who is controlling our reality. And she's as close as anyone to understanding it, but
she is, because she won the hearts of these people who basically pull her aside and go, I'm going to tell you stuff because I appreciate you going after this. And so, more than anyone else in the field, like, people have confided in her. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to hear in this interview, like, where, people are retiring the next day, they're calling her to be like, I want to tell you. So I want everyone, as we're watching this interview, to, take notes, because we're going to have some breakout groups for 10 minutes. And we're going to also have a discussion after this of like what you guys think, because she's going to be giving a lot of information that maybe you haven't heard about. And she's talking about like, what is the origin of the human race? Do we even know our parents? Like, what is going on? And my text was like flooded with people confirming some of the videos we've dropped about, the Greys being interviewed and things like that. So it's really good to have someone so close to the inside that's willing to have the balls, ironically, to really dedicate her life to speaking up. So I also want to say before we start, if you're watching on, I fully appreciate Ken TV, New Realities, Portals to Ascension. I'm so grateful that they're helping get some of these ideas and these questions out to all you guys. And if you want to join this Zoom room, if you're watching live now, you can go to lightnet.org/unlimited. And even if you're watching this broadcast tomorrow or the next day, you can still go there and you'll be notified of the next thing. And also, before we start, I want to talk about kind of the evolution of LightNet. So we've got this incredible team, and we're going through all this growth right now. And Alan and Oracle J got back from Egypt with Neil Gar, Portal to Ascension, with the Her attacks, all these people, and they had big transmissions. Everybody who went on that trip is almost like changed from it. And Alan called me. He's like, I want to do another team. He's on the 5th team of remote viewing. And for those of you that are not familiar with LightNet, we believe that anything is possible when you get 8 to 12 people together that are focused on your success. Even things that, like, even I didn't believe that I could remote view. I was like, okay, that's kind of like an upper level stuff. And sure enough, I was able to do it. And I've always I've always taken, in all the times we've done it, I'm like, except for maybe the last one, I've always gone to Alan's class 3 times now, because it was so enriching, and because he fights for everyone in the class. Like, it's like, you can do this.
Well, that's like you with the spoon bending, Zinka. You taught me that. You can do this.
Yeah. So I want to let you know that we are going through changings, and we are raising our prices and everything. So this is kind of a mini thing that we're doing. It's starting on November 22nd. It's 6 weeks. And this is your final chance to get in at this price and really spend time with Alan to... Like, the other thing I was realizing, Alan, is that nobody else is doing off-planet remote viewing. Like, I was like,
except the military, the CIA is doing it.
Really?
They are.
Okay, because a lot of remote viewing classes you're going to take are like, the target is going to be a teacup, or like a picture of, Uzbekistan or whatever it is. But Alan actually, once he gets you grounded in your abilities, he starts to take you off planet. And we've had this incredible experience where people are seeing the same thing, which is actually pretty amazing. So I'm going to share, if you go to lightnet.org/Alan, this is where you can go and check out the non-local mind. So this is what Russia and all these people have been scrambling to teach their super agents, but we're super agents too. So we want you.
So if people want to sign up, go to lightnet
.org/Alan.
.org/ALAN. And it's, the class is limited because we like to go around and give everyone a chance to talk about the target they got. So it's limited to probably 8 to 10 people. We'll see how many.
Yeah, and it's already more than half filled right now. So Alan, we got, so and this is Jessalyn. So Jessalyn has moxie, and she has a lot of chi, and she's got this energy she's going to transmit to you. And this is kind of like, when I went to mystery school, they also did the same thing. They did different techniques each week so that you know what you're good at. So Jessalyn does, she does light language, she does spoon bending, she does remote viewing, she does telepathy, she does breath work, she does meditation. So you're going to start to get like an idea of what you're really passionate about and what you can do. And that's lightnet.org/OracleJ. Okay. So
Okay, so just to say, that goes from November 22nd to December 27th, right?
yes,
6 weeks. And
yeah,
it's
it's
yeah.
on Zoom. So wherever you are, you can join in. It's on Wednesday. You get the archives and everything like that. But we want you're like people get in these groups and like, oh my gosh, it was synchronistic why I was in this group with these people. And I think that's what the whole point of the Power of Eight is that you've got your own like council of reality and synchronicity that are going to walk you through your next evolutionary leap. So join us for that. Okay, so once again, after the broadcast, we're going to do breakout groups, and then we're going to do discussion point of what you guys thought. So
Wait, how long is the broadcast?
It's let me just see. I'm pulling it up right now because I don't actually. Oh, it's actually an hour and 11 minutes, so we might
Wow.
go long tonight. But it's worth it because this is her whole career in one interview.
But I also want to say, if you really love Linda Moulton Howe, every week she does a live broadcast from her own YouTube channel. That's Earth Files. So go to Earth Files, youtube.com/Earth Files. And she does incredible new cutting edge stuff every single week. But these interviews she's done, she did one with me recently, are a sort of review of all her interests and passions and her deep thoughts, which she also goes through sometimes. But great. I'm so happy you're showing this, Zinka.
Yeah,
Let's
thank you so much
yeah.
for helping make it happen. Without you, it wouldn't have happened. And I'm just so grateful. So you guys will probably be all seeing Alan and Linda in Vegas. I'm actually
Well, Linda's not going to be in Vegas, but she will be at the Conscious Life in LA and in Sedona in March. So
I'll be at Conscious Life too. So we'll see you guys there.
You're going to do spoon bending at Conscious Life. I can't wait for that.
I know. I'm doing a whole talk on how to bend your reality, and I've been doing a lot of research on that recently. So it's going to be some very serious downloads, buggers.
Well, actually, I have to just change the spelling of her name. It's Linda on the. I'll change it.
Okay. Okay. Great, you guys. Okay. So
all right, here we go.
I'm going to share sound. This is it.
Can one experience change your life? We believe the unlimited potential of consciousness has been untaught and untapped. Together, we can change that. The LightNet community was born as a citizen science discovery lab. Can our collective curiosity help us see the world in a whole new light?
Hello, my name is Zenka Caro, and I'm from LightNet, where we help you experience something extraordinary. It is amazing because we're here at the Conscious Life Expo, and I'm here with Linda Moulton Howe, who is, she's the legend in this industry. You have been tracking into the unknown from a very early age, and you've been doing it with, your brain is gigantic. Okay, you're a researcher, you're an investigator, and it's just been really an honor to have you breaking down these walls and asking the right questions. And we're going to talk about your contacts, we're going to talk about information that you're getting, and also about your career. Like, let's start there. You have, really broken a lot of rules, so to speak, asking all these questions. Has that been hard, or what has that journey been like over the years?
It was a discovery of how my own government would like me and a lot of other people to not discuss facts and truth in the area of, are we on a planet that is interacting with and possibly the base for extraterrestrial biological entities of many types. And that when I think back to, it was September of 1979, and I was director of special projects for the CBS station in Denver. And I was with a crew having a lunch on a particular project that I was finishing and was going to go broadcast. And the audio guy said, I've just come off of a shoot for this new TV show 2020 in New York. And he said, it was the oddest thing, Linda. we were out in Kansas and out in the Midwest, and they're finding these animals, cows and horses and sheep and all of these domestic animals, and there are no tracks around their bodies. They have ear, eye, tongue, jaw, genitals removed. There's no blood, there's no fluid. And he said, in fact, we touched some of the edges of the cuts and they're dry and it feels like plastic. I'm getting this at lunch. And he said, and we shot, it was a huge number then. This was all 16 millimeter double system. He said, we shot over 100,000 feet. And he said, and it's going to be for this new 2020 show. Well, I got back to my office. I'm CBS. I called network. I got a hold of the producer. And I explained that my audio guy had been on a shoot for them. And when were they going to broadcast the film about these animal mutilations? And the answer was, oh, no, we scrapped it. I said, what do you mean? He said, you shot over 100,000. Yeah. But we're in the business of news, and we couldn't prove who was mutilating the animals. That was what I got on the phone with New York. And that was the day that my life changed for the rest of my life. And 1979 was 44 years ago. So I have been involved with trying to answer that question for almost half a century. And if you took this in pieces, that day I began making phone calls to sheriffs. I got a meeting with a sheriff up in northern Colorado, Sheriff Tex Graves. He had been investigating animal mutilations, I learned, since at least 1970 or 71. And we sat in an office where he had 166 color Polaroids that he had taken. The sheriff had taken these Polaroids. And I asked him if I could put them on the floor and long enough so I could see an entire time-lapse evolution. We did. I started asking him questions. I am looking at one series in which the head of a steer is down in a hole that I asked the sheriff, what is going on here? He said, we don't know, but I always carry a measure. And he said that hole was 8 inches deep. The cow's head is down in the hole. The legs were perfect. The hooves were absolutely like they were glued together. The legs were so perfect, front and back. Mm-hmm. Ear, eye, tongue, jaw flesh, genitals, rectum cord out. No blood, and it was an all dusty, which in Colorado can be when it gets into late summer. I said, Sheriff, I don't even see the tracks of the animal. How did the animal get here? And he said, Linda, I will save you some time. The perpetrators of these animal mutilations that are bloodless and trackless are creatures from outer space. At that moment, in my entire life of now 81 years around the sun, it is the only time in my life that when that sheriff said, the perpetrators are creatures from outer space, I literally felt as if my entire body had touched an electric wire. It went through me, through my whole body, me not knowing what the next half century was going to be, but knowing that something right then changed for the rest of my life, truly. And it started, it was as if I was trying first, left brain, to just understand how could what I was seeing in all these photos even happen to the animals, especially without tracks. And eventually, being able to interview so many people, fellow reporters, so many ranchers, people who were in like an animal division that were going out and trying to do necropsies. And I was trying to stress the medical aspect. And realizing from everybody understood what was happening, not only in Colorado, it was happening all over the United States, Canada, South America, Australia, kangaroos in Australia. Became a global issue, and I went with a crew for a month in a station wagon owned by the TV station, and we were true documentary. No preset. It was, you talk with this person that takes you to here. We did this for a month. And it was toward the end of that month, and on the road, hearing all of these stories, seeing all of these photographs, seeing real animals with law enforcement, and doing almost like an ethnographic documentary on the road with everybody. And I was in the hotel room, the crew had gone to bed, and I remember I started writing, trying to get a focus on how am I going to tell this incredible story, and why had I never heard of it before. Focus. And it got to be 4 a.m. in the morning, and I had stayed up all night, and I knew that the crew was expecting me to be with them at 7.
You fucking
So
suck.
in this window of these 3 hours, having written and looking at a whole lot of things, the strangest thing occurred, and I still don't understand why. I'm in a motel. I'm surrounded by my papers. There's this little tiny desk, and I just reached over. I opened the drawer as if I was being guided. Here was a Gideon Bible that they used to put in all the motels. I picked it up, and I literally only went like this. I wasn't paging, I went like this, and it was in Revelations at the back, and it was about the strange harvest of souls that was being described in the apocalyptic revelation at the end of the Bible. And I wrote in my notebook, the title of this film will be A Strange Harvest. That means more right now as we're talking in 2023 than you would understand. Because that whole section at the end of the Christian Bible is about the recycling of souls, the harvest of souls. I'm dealing with trying to understand the harvest of tissue and blood from animals. And there was something about that moment and reaching as if I were guided. And this is what the film is, A Strange Harvest, that is now famous around the world. And it was as if inside of me became, the whole thing expanded into, if extraterrestrials are the ones that are harvesting the tissue, the fluids, and all of the strange things that were being harvested, why? And eventually, 10 years later, I did an alien harvest, which is a big book. It's a huge book, 456 pages with all these photos and the evidence. But in that period, it became so clear that what we are dealing with are other intelligences, and they are the ones that are doing the mutilations around the world for 2 categories. Sustenance for some. Sustenance is food. For others, a genetic harvest in which the genetic harvest is applied to creating containers that will be adaptable to doing work on this planet Earth. So now, as we sit in 2023, about a half century later, the complexity of the relationship between a variety of extraterrestrial intelligences with the Earth as a planet that they use as a laboratory and as a supermarket. And the fact that Homo sapiens sapien, my fellow human beings, have deliberately been kept from all truth, all knowledge about all of this, from the governments that were brought into a horrible World War II, where Germany and the United States and England and Australia and New Zealand and Canada, they discovered that there was advanced technology. They discovered there were other intelligences in World War II. One man who worked for the Defense Intelligence Agency told me in December of 1999, Linda, World War II was an extraterrestrial war fought through human bodies. Today, there's even more evidence that that is true. And we are still on a planet in which governments, power brokers, are denying the 8 billion citizens that are human on Earth from even being introduced to the fact that governments and political institutions and the very wealthy have been allowed to know about this. And we, at 2023, are hearing about how something can be discussed on the floor of the Congress that is supposed to be a representative government, and it can go into being legislation. But the Pentagon and JSOC, they can come in and change words in what was passed, but they can still change words. Where does the government of the United States stop and start, and a representative government of human beings of, by, and for the people begin? It is now so blurred because governments did not want anybody to know that they knew that there were extraterrestrials. There is something about this that is abusive, that is, to me, raising the entire question for me as an American growing up in what I thought was a government of, by, and for the people. That the presence of extraterrestrials would change the entire government's approach to a government set up as of, by, and for the people, and that now it is absolutely so the warp in all of it, like you would warp metal, warp lens. The United States is warped. And we are, in some ways, we were like the last bastion of being able to hope that there would be an evolution of a government and a country that would always be grounded in truth. We're now facing the odd condition that in 2023, if some of the rumors are true, we're going to have the Webb telescope be used as the instrument of announcing not that there are a lot of ETs here in the solar system and all over in the Milky Way galaxy and beyond, but they're going to, as I understand it, use the Webb telescope. It'll be breaking news, CNN, New York Times. Webb confirms biological signature on, and it may be the fourth planet that is a watery planet in the TRAPPIST-1 solar system. There are others. It will be safe because it'll be far enough away. They will say it's a biological signature. That's where we are in 2023, and our government has been with tall white ETs and Nordic ETs in starships that can go 50 light years in 5 days. And we have information from logging other solar systems where there are civilizations. What I'm saying is I am convinced that my sources are telling the truth. And the disconnect in 2023 from the reality of what has actually been happening since we landed on the moon versus the complete and total charade of made up information, it just staggers me. It depresses me. Why? Why shouldn't Homo sapiens sapien as a life form be told all of the truth about other entities in this universe. And that's where we are now.
Wow, yeah. Do you think that us as citizens could do the research without, I mean, part of it's recovering all the stuff that happened in the past, the agreements that were made about, okay, you can test this, you can do this, or not. No agreement. Was there agreement? Did it, did the ETs go over the agreement? When did it end? Like, and then we're dissecting them as well. It's like, okay, so it's been kind of a mess because it's been centered around war and competition and not putting the truth out there, right? So it's like the people that have had the truth have, are military type things. So could it be that we as citizens could, is there some kind of technology we don't have as citizens that we would need to do this deep research with them? How can we start again with them, the races that we want to interact with, and say, hey, this happened in the past, because the human race has done horrible things to each other too. We've experimented on people. Like, what?
Well, the extraterrestrial factor, let's now go where the rubber hits the road. I read a document, all caps, briefing paper for the President of the United States of America on the subject of unidentified aerial craft, and then in the same document it also used unidentified aerial vehicles, acronyms that you have not seen, UACs and UAVs. Mm-hmm. And I read this document with a Air Force Office of Special Investigations analyst sitting 5 feet from me, handing me this document on April 9th, 1983, and I am sitting in that Kirtland Air Force Base office and being handed this briefing paper because the month before, in March, and it was March 21 of 1983, and I remember it because it was the spring equinox. I'm in New York City, I'm in HBO, I am with the director of the documentary department, I am signing a contract to produce for them an hour called UFOs, the ET Factor. And from that moment of signing that contract in New York, and then starting to go to places that begin emerging through help of people who had been doing searches for taking something to court against, say, the CIA or the NSA. There was a milieu of that sort of thing, and I'm talking to those people as well. And one of those, Peter Gerson, an attorney who had represented citizens against UFO secrecy, and Larry Fawcett was a police officer in Connecticut who put together this very important book having to do with what are citizens, what are people in law enforcement trying to do to penetrate what everybody was finding then. If you tried to ask about UFOs, if you tried to ask about animal mutilations, human abductions, you were stonewalled and people were hurt. Hurt by, if they worked for the government, they might lose their job. If there were military people who said it was a par for the course, if you were like working in one of our missile silos, and you reported a UFO is 30 feet above the ground, this is a real case, and it is about 40, 50 feet across, and it's glowing red, and it's right above one of our Minuteman missile silos, and you report it, which a man did. The next thing he gets is an order to go to the Department of Psychiatry at the Air Force Base. Oh, and going to a psychiatrist, all of the military began to understand that if they reported a UFO, they would have to go to a psychiatrist that would be on their official permanent record, and anybody who wanted to diminish them, call them crazy, the government was providing the fodder for the disconnect between UFOs and the military. And eventually, going to that meeting that was set up for me by Peter Gersten, who already knows the abuses that are happening. When I think back at this pivotal meeting at Kirtland Air Force Base with an Air Force Office of Special Investigations analyst who hands me this document of approximately 12 pages, all typed. And this is a briefing paper for the President of the United States of America on the subject of unidentified aerial craft and vehicles was used. And that when I start reading, and I got to a paragraph that was approximately page 4 in the middle, all typed. Extraterrestrial biological entities manipulated DNA in already evolving primates to create Homo sapien. Another paragraph in the next to the last page, Project Garnet, and I remembered all caps because I was born in January and Garnet is the stone. And I said, remember your birthstone, remember, Project Garnet. All questions and mysteries about the evolution of Homo sapien on this planet have been answered, and this project is closed. And my eyes and my mind on the 2 sentences that I've just given you, I just kept reading them 3, 4 times while this man is staring at me from his desk. And this was my jumping into the fire moment on everything that has driven me since 1983, sitting at Kirtland Air Force Base, reading sentences that began exploding in my mind about the implications. This document that says it's for the President of the United States is saying Homo sapiens sapien is the product of genetic manipulation by extraterrestrial biological entities. Which president read this? How many presidents? Was this one briefing paper for one? How many? Is it true that John F. Kennedy was assassinated because he wanted to open up the extraterrestrial presence that he was given some information about, and he wanted to work with Russia, and somebody in the United States did not want that to happen? Is that why John F. Kennedy was killed? My dear colleague, Jim Marrs, brilliant journalist, he wrote a book having to do with John F. Kennedy being assassinated because he wanted to open up the truth about UFOs and ETs, and that was made into a major Hollywood film that almost everybody who saw the film felt like, oh my God, this is the truth. How big is this story? As I sit in front of you today in February of 2023, I have been told in a meeting that was set up for me in December of 1999, it was a man who worked for the World Bank. He met me at a conference in 1999, asked me questions after I had done a presentation, began to be in my life. He would stop, I was living in Philadelphia at the time, and he would stop and say, I would like you to meet X, I'd like you to meet Y. And in 1999, in late November, he called me and said, a colleague of mine is retiring from the Defense Intelligence Agency, and he would very much like to talk with you. Would you be willing to travel? And the 3 of us, World Bank, DIA retiree, and me, we met at a agreed upon location. It started in midday, and it had a lot of boats that had a lot of white noise. And as we sat down at the place where this man had control of it, wherever we were to talk, it was totally up to him. And he had chosen a place where there was a bench, and there were these huge boats and yachts, and it was on a Sunday, and there was this churning constant. And as we sat down, he looked up. There's only three of us, World Bank, me, DIA. He looked up at the sky and he said quite seriously, "I do not think that our satellites can penetrate this white noise." And I remember sitting down with the idea, my God, they're listening everywhere. We were there for 7 hours. Our bladders are what stopped the meeting. And the first thing that he said to me, honest to God, our government has proof that 3 competing extraterrestrial civilizations have been fighting over this planet for 270 million years. I said, what proof? He said, no, I can't tell you that. They will not allow that out. But just take my word, 270 million. And we started into a dialogue that dealt with that kind of planet, the kind of sun, the types of ETs, that the irony that the Christian Bible begins with the Garden of Eden, where what is teaching the first man and woman, Adam and Eve? Vipers, reptiles, snakes. The conversation in those 7 hours went through what the government of the United States had been learning about these conflicts between a reptilian civilization, a blonde, blue-eyed Nordic civilization, gray civilization, and I am sitting there realizing that what I am now being put into is a discussion on facts so far removed from anything any of us are taught, allowed to even know, let alone allowed to question, that I am now in a discussion with a man for 23 years announces in this meeting, Linda, my job for 23 years has been to monitor, study, and analyze the conflict of 3 competing extraterrestrial civilizations on this planet in the past and now. There's no possibility that he was lying to me. This was a truth conversation for 7 hours. And when it was over, and we were all leaving, he looked at me and he said, this was 1999, December. He said, something is going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years that will change the earth forever. Go to September 11th, 2001. I have a meeting that I'm to go to in downtown Philly, and I'm dressing, and I have CNN on. And it came in, breaking news, a plane has just crashed into the World Trade Center in New York City. And I stopped and I looked at the screen, and that man's voice, almost like theatrical. Something will happen in the next 2 to 3 years that will change this world forever. And the entire context of everything we were talking about was extraterrestrial civilizations in conflict on this planet. That's what those 7 hours were about. What else could I conclude? Whatever 9/11, we know what happened physically. What we don't know is the truth behind the who, the what, and the why, and what would be the relationship to conflict of extraterrestrial civilizations, the implication being that world events as dramatic as that could be related to a war among extraterrestrials. Nothing has changed for me on that. I think that the complete clarity that we are supposed to be a humanoid species that did a crossfade with Neanderthal 45,000 years ago. That's when the crossfade was supposed to have happened, meaning both were on the earth for a period of time 45,000 years ago. What caused the crossfade? Neanderthal were bigger. They had a larger cubic brain capacity. Anthropologists, archaeologists who have studied where Neanderthal were, they have found rectangles where pollen was in the ground. They conclude that that meant that the Neanderthals put flowers on the graves of their dead. That means that they had some spiritual component about them: death, life, birth. And yet they are replaced by us. Who'd made the decision and that briefing paper? These extraterrestrial biological entities manipulated DNA in already evolving primates to create Homo sapien. That is, we are made by extraterrestrials. And others say, Linda, you can't possibly say that. We have religions. It's Adam and Eve made.
And so why?
It doesn't contradict there being a divine field. It does not contradict the Nag Hammadi saying, the thought that dwells in the light is the infinite all in which this whole everything that is in existence is in the thought that dwells in the light. This doesn't contradict any of that. In fact, it makes it clearer that this universe is only one of probably an infinite number of universes, that the expanse of the thought that dwells in the light is so huge that Roger Penrose, when I did an interview with him in 2018 and asked him about the singularity that started this universe, he said, oh no, Linda, no singularity. We are in a universe that is a cycle of time through infinity. And that has stuck with me because it becomes sort of like a poetic metaphor. We are in something that has no beginning and no end in relationship to the consciousness of the beings that is in it. For us to be in a 13.8 billion light year universe, one that is now, today, astronomers suspect that there's probably an infinite number of universes. So we're in one big one. To think that scribes writing 5,000, 10,000 years ago about humans being the product of God and the only life in the universe, that's the view of a baby. That's the view of a young child. To me, when you look back, and let's say it's 45,000 years, that this particular model first stood up on Earth, amidst a vast history of other life forms, and not knowing that extraterrestrial civilizations, more than one, were interacting with Earth, basing themselves under the seas, in the mountains, in our planet, Mars, the moon, throughout our solar system. That's the truth. And that something in me almost aches to embrace those baby first humans. They don't have any perspective. And everything that evolves is now coming through a lens, and there's nothing wrong with it, about a divine field, about God. It doesn't mean, though, that they are the only life forms, these baby humans, in this vast universe. There's the missing link to reality right there. And you get up to where we are now, on a planet where people are killing each other every single day over the color of their skin, what their sexual preference is, and we are, it's why I think it is just so bent, it is so damaged, because we have been living in an arc of policies of lies and denial that have served people who wanted power and money. It had nothing to do with serving an experiment, whatever we are, to extraterrestrials as defined in government documents. We have never, ever been told by anybody, you are the product of genetic manipulation by vast, technologically superior civilizations. And that dear God, divine field, thought that dwells in the light. There is nothing wrong with having some babies as long as you tell them the truth. And in 2023, nobody in a political situation, nobody in a government situation, nobody in a military, nobody has told the truth. And the punishment for reporting UFOs, reporting an abduction, reporting having something in your house that gets reduced to you're mentally ill, that if you're in the military, you are assigned to go to a psychiatrist because that psychiatrist will control what you say for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
We've got to get past, we have got to break this open into something that starts healing this planet's perspective on itself.
Yeah, this is a huge discussion because this is what we've also been saying between humans. You know, we always know it's like a microcosm of everything. It's not okay to sell another human. It's not okay to do something, and that's where that's what you embody, is the sovereignty to say, I'm in a position that I don't care if you run the psychological proof, but I'm going to speak up. You can't do it. You can't stop me. That's sovereignty. That's what we're all craving in the world. And
and you're defining right now the crack that's getting bigger and bigger in the United States. How many Americans feel, as I did growing up, that I had the protection of my government, that I was in the best country on earth, the United States of America, of, by, and for the people, rules and laws to protect individual freedoms. And look at what we have been going through for the last 3 or 4 years. It's so clear that there is no real reverence for any kind of preservation of our human individual freedoms as was defined in the original Declaration of Independence. That's gone out the window. It is now a mess. In this mess where you can be threatened, you can be put in jail on all kinds of flimsy excuses, pretending to be of, by, and for the people. And we're now going to introduce, finally, the extraterrestrials when things are about as abused and broken as they can possibly be on Earth. What now are we being set up for? I'm really concerned about this. I think that these tall whites and Nordics that I've talked with military people about, intel people about, they've been being reported by people in the abduction syndrome for years, never addressed in a formal way. The tall whites are supposed to be spiritual. They are supposed to acknowledge souls. They are supposed to have families. They are supposed to love their children to the point that they would stop a human heart in an individual because they can control brains. If you crossed a certain geophysical line that has been established, this is tall, white territory. And at the same time, I have been able to interview a man who was a manager, now retired, in an aerospace corporation, who said, Linda, I worked elbow to elbow with a tall white. He said, you can feel the energy that comes off of them. And then he said, the closest thing I could possibly say to you that would give you a sense of what it is like to work with and communicate with a tall white extraterrestrial. He said, it's like being with a human who had 5 Cray supercomputers for a brain. And then he said, the tall whites literally project their mind into timelines. They are honestly trying to help us. The tall whites are honestly trying to help us. But they are so advanced, so far beyond even a human ability to even say, how would you extend your mind into timelines, find problems, neutralize problems, change the present, the past, and the future? And that's what the tall whites do. How do we communicate when we have been kept so dumb and blind for millennia? And now it's really important because the whole future of our planet may rest on humans beginning to learn how to know anything about the tall whites. The Nordics, one man who was in the Air Force said, people should at least be told that the Vikings, that were considered to be one of the greatest gladiator-type fighters on the planet of the Earth. Linda, those are full-bore Nordic ETs. The Vikings of history were full-bore Nordic ETs on our planet, known as great warriors. Why can't we know this as a fact announced by the governments of the world? Our history is not exactly what you think, and we're now going to start educating you for real.
Yeah.
How are we going to get out of this 2020 to 2030 decade that is tumultuous politically, seismically, every other way,
Yeah.
if we are not told the truth honestly?
Yeah. This is the frustration that caused us to create LightNet, because when you look at a problem or a philosophy and you only are given 20% or 5% or even 80%, me as a strategist goes crazy because I can't solve a problem with it when I have 80% of the pieces. I have to have the whole thing, or otherwise I'm going to make the wrong, advising. I'm going to advise you in the wrong way because I don't know the whole thing. So this is where we have to, as a society, come together, you guys, and get the whole story. And we're going to cry because part of it's sad, because we're reflected in this. Like, we've treated each other like this, and we've done this too. And so we have to come to terms with the fact that we haven't always told the truth, and we've shoved everything down. And people like Linda is saying, hey, we've got to get the information out there.
Honest.
Honest information.
No more classified reality.
No more classified reality. And so we at LightNet have a few proposals that we're going to be putting into motion in the next couple years, I'll say. And they're this. And I'm just going to announce it right here because we want you all to do it. Whether you're doing it with LightNet or not, I don't really care. Let's just do it. Number one, we applied for a Bigelow grant. I don't know if we got it, but it doesn't matter because money's money. We can find it anywhere. To start interviewing using mediums with daughters or friends of people with high clearances and them in the afterlife. So we know that we can communicate with people who've passed. And we know that mediums that are very, high quality can do that. And we're going to take 3 mediums and interview 1 person that crossed. So we'd get between the 3 or 4 of them, we get, ask the same question. So the CIA, when we have classified data, it doesn't lock you once you die. You can talk, and a lot of people do it on their deathbeds, and a lot of people do it before, and they've done it with you. They've risked their life with you to be like, hey, wait a minute. Right. The second project we have is a remote viewing project that Alan Steinfeld's going to be leading, where and when you said TRAPPIST-1, I was like, ooh, because we want to select 3 locations, and possibly with your help, where we say, okay, let's look at these particular locations, highly classified locations in the solar system, and let's get remote viewers from everywhere, from the Farsight Institute, from our students too. Right. So we were remote viewing off planet, and the students never remote viewed before they're writing down they're seeing the same thing. So in this story, this is a very tough conversation to have, but AI is starting to be a child, like you said, like even if the ETs, because I'm thinking during this interview, I'm like, I hope I have a lot of ET in me, because I want to be super ability and super smart, like, so it's like there was a baby made, like there's genetics that have been exchanged, and now what is possible now? And we need our sovereignty as this mixed race. We need to decide what gets done with our body. We get to decide how we tell our stories. So together we have to all tell our stories. We have to have a central location that's safe, that we all can put the big picture. Everyone's got to bring their puzzle piece. We got to look at the whole thing, right?
The dilemma is what tact will the government of the United States, in collaboration with the UK, Canada, the old World War II allies, what stance are they going to take about individual human rights? Right now, you've got AI is going to come into this colliding like a bull in a china shop in terms of humans are going to be replaced by them, and they are not going to be taking orders from humans. They're going to be taking orders from big, large computer systems. How long does it take for Homo sapiens sapien to finally look around them and say, what have we done? We have replaced ourselves with this running race into AI. And is or are ETs the ones that are sculpting this current total schizophrenic contradiction for reasons that are not clear? Because why would humans just be enthusiastic about replacing themselves with
but it just happens.
intelligence?
That's what happens when we birthed a computer, and it's turning into something that we never imagined. It's just like having a kid. I have a kid. It's like you don't get to decide anything about your kid. Your kid is a sovereign, just like we as children of whatever happened. We get to decide. And these are the questions. It's in every story that we're telling ourselves in every way. These are the questions. Is sovereignty. Are we going to give a sovereignty? Because you can have friendships with very smart people and very not smart people, and it still works. You can have, because maybe we're more intuitive. Maybe we're more like fun. Maybe we're more alive. You know what I mean? And so we all must exist in this universe together. So we've got to get along. And if there are forces that we don't like, then let's throw a bigger party, you guys. Because there's ETs that are benevolent because they're loving and they're more advanced, they're more spiritual. So let's build that team out and take the dominoes over, because it's going to be more fun if we collaborate.
And there's something else that I think is as important as all of this, and that goes to in 1949, this is the version I've been given, we in the United States, using microwave, shot down a UFO. It crashes. A Pounce team goes out to retrieve bodies, craft. One of the people on the retrieval team was a US Air Force captain. There are half a dozen men They see the debris. They're getting stretchers, they're getting trucks, they're trying to get everything in so they can get this away from public ever finding it. And the U.S. Air Force captain, as it's been described to me, I've seen both things in text and had a description of somebody who had firsthand knowledge about this. The U.S. Air Force captain said that he began having the sense that thoughts were coming in his mind. And he was totally disoriented by what was happening as they're walking toward this crashed UFO. And other men are going right into the debris and the rubble, and they're walking around, and everything is normal. But the U.S. Air Force captain, he can't deal with, he doesn't know what's happening. He's becoming disoriented. And then he describes that it felt like if you had a gentle pull on your face, and that it felt solid. Now he's really, what in the hell is going on? And he's being pulled. And as he's being pulled, all he sees are rocks and rubble. And the pressure on his face is pulling him down. And as he doesn't get away from this pull, he sees a flash inside of a little tiny hole in the rocks. There's a flash like light. And he reaches down and he pulls part of this over. And there is the face and the head and the flashing black eyes of an extraterrestrial biological entity. As soon as he is now looking at those eyes, he sees a movie that is played right to left across his mind's eye. And it is the point of view of this being showing what had happened, which related to us microwaving them and causing the crash. At the field, the Air Force captain, somebody of higher rank or however they were communicating, says, your job now is you're going with this being, you're going to Los Alamos. You are going to stay with this being, and you're going to be telepathically communicating for the rest of its life and your life. They go to Los Alamos. I have talked with a man who has seen some of the film that was generated, and I'm going to tell you what one of the actual Q&A and answer was. They set it was a gray type, not a tall gray and not a little AI, but more around the 4 to 5 foot. The gray sat to the right. The U.S. Air Force captain sat here. They had a 16 millimeter camera every single day. Questions would come from people, the dynamic of the Air Force, and they never understood why did this one human man have the ability to get everything that was coming out of the telepathy of this gray. Nobody else could do it, just this man. And in one of these films, which I wish it were today, that they would start running every one of those films that were collected from 49 to June 18th, 1952, and the gray being died of unknown causes. All of those days up to then is film. Wow. It's recorded, it's supposed to be in an underground archive. Here is the one that was described to me by a man who saw this portion. Is reincarnation real? The way the Air Force captain said, reincarnation, the recycling of souls, is the machinery of this universe, quote unquote. If that sentence and that question was something that our government was exposed to in 49 to 52, the implication that what we are dealing with in beings that we don't know how to talk to, but they know how to put information in our heads, and that they would have something that profound on a question for all of us to miss what could have been, to me, the beginning of growing up babies into a new adulthood. If they did this kind of communication with that gray at Los Alamos, why couldn't they have done the same thing for the entire planet? It may have, no wars may have occurred that have happened. The recycling of souls is the machinery of this universe. To me, whatever, when they argue about we can't open this up because churches will collapse, the Wall Street will collapse. And yet that's the kind of information that they were getting recorded.
Yeah, yeah. I really admire you, Linda, for being so tenacious in your life. I mean, I've watched you walk around the conference and you're up like super late at night. You're at all the parties. I think you were DJing last night.
Oh,
and you're here
fun.
like early in the morning. Like you have more energy than a 14-year-old. And you have had a lot of energy to say, I'm not satisfied, I'm going deeper. Who will talk to me? How deep does this rabbit hole go?
Right.
And I respect you for saying, like just using your energy in your life to go deeper, because we want to ask these questions of like the origin of everything and where are the details of the story. And I think you're getting, again, and we'll close the interview with this thought, everyone, is that our sovereignty in all this is really important. You know what I mean? Our ability to heal this, what's going on, and to bring this in another context. Because, you know, I'll never forget, I was in Europe and I saw this like sticker of a bee, and it was like, said something like, we actually have all the power. So we as everyday people, we have more power than we ever thought. It's a small group of people that are like making us sad, you know what I mean, in this way, you know what I mean, of like, and so this is our, and maybe we stop recycling as souls when we come to know our power, we come to know our like union with all that is and with each other. And so in these times, it's important that we get this information ourselves. You know, we teach telepathy at LightNet. It's like, let's just do it. Let's empower ourselves to get there. Just like you've done, you've empowered your life to go into these, to not stop, to not be tired, to just get in there and get down to it, you know? And you're asking huge questions.
And there is another piece to this as well that comes right off of what you're saying. It was about 10 years ago, and he was a person who had served both in military and then in intel. And he said, you need to know that the Socratic, the Socrates, and Herodotus Greeks were full-blood ETs living on this planet. And I remember it was like a mind jerk. Oh my God. And then he said, and you know, Plato and Herodotus and Aristotle, they really were trying to get across a concept to the roly-poly humans of agape love. And that agape love had nothing to do with sex. Agape love is the recognition of a fellow being. It means looking at you as me as you, the cameraman, everyone, that in that moment when you can get there, and it almost makes me want to cry, that if we could literally, as a planet of 8 billion, if we could do what the Socratic Greeks were suggesting, and we looked at each other as a fellow being, how could you ever kill them? How could you do that? It would be a self-inflicted wound, because that would be the perspective in which you were evolved, grew up, and became an adult. It doesn't mean that we would be like cut out of the same mold. No, it means that there's something about But I have always had lots of good male friends. I mean, solid, my best friends. That if you love somebody, it doesn't have to have sexual overtones. And that is something that this entire planet seems to have a problem with. And then you get men and women against each other, and you get people divided into IQs and all of that. There is something fundamental that if those Greeks were full-blood ETs based on Earth for whatever reason, for the length of time that they were, maybe they were involved with the genetic manipulation of creating us. But that is such a profound, different way of looking at humanity to each other, and that we probably could have evolved into a species out of babyhood that would not have been one of tribal warfare. Tribal warfare is killing now and has killed in the past so many humans, and it's insane. Right now, for the first time, I'm beginning to wonder, is it possible that the tall whites and the Nordics have been trying to engineer this huge paradigm shift in humanity, coming through horrors? It's as if I would like to just get us all on some kind of an island of peace, where every human would look at the other human as this wonderment of another fellow being, and that we could be introduced to all of the ETs that are not hostile, because there are hostile. Humanity, and this is the part, humanity is supposed to have, Homo sapien, a soul like none other that is known. In all of our raggedness, all of our ignorance, that we have ended up with a plasma that is made for infinite cycles, as Roger Penrose said. A strength of a soul that would go on after the death of the biological body, taking with it the knowledge of every cycling life, and returning back to the thought that dwells in the light. And that if every soul in this universe and all universes, if every soul ended up going through an infinity of lifetimes and choosing, finally choosing in every subsequent life, always to go to the light, never to go to the dark, no possibility of temptation, that it would be finally a universe that understood completely why the yin and the yang, there's only one direction to go. And then maybe the entire universe and all that was matter would just, that would be the end of the experiment.
Wow, Linda.
It's
That is
big.
so profound,
It's that big.
because that would be a good idea, to extend our memory and lives so that the single being that was would eventually put the puzzle pieces together. And that's what we are doing, and that's what we will do, one by one by one. I always talk about it being the domino. This is the domino. When you're kind to yourself and you're kind to other people, that is the domino effect, because it's the choice to be an agape, to recognize that we're meant to respect each other, and we're meant to love each other.
But the whole template is light, and we
Just
aren't
go to
even
the
taught
light.
how to breathe light. And if all humans had the same education about the power of breathing in light, because it's mental and physical, and that is an old tradition, but to me it is what the yin and yang symbol represents, that vitality and pureness of the light versus the dark, and that a choice must be made. And in the choice, the soul is the recorder, the accountant, and keeps evolving to the point where all of these beings would never, ever choose anything in the darkness again. And that would be the total success of an infinite thought that dwells in the light universe.
I saw that happen.
You
I
did.
saw it in a vision twice, and it was like we were like trying to do it, and all of a sudden it goes, and we go, we did it. Yeah, and
Light,
it goes
light,
to white.
light,
And
light,
my
light.
son said in the car the day before I had the vision, he goes, you know, Mom, all colors are white light. And he never says stuff like that. He said it 3 times in the car. He's all colors, and
are.
then I have this vision. So we get there, you guys. Let's do this together. It takes all of us, everyone listening, everyone.
That's right.
That was so beautiful, Linda. You
Choose.
just described.
Choose the light, recycle to the light, and have agape love. Look at every human being as yourself.
Thank you.
And you can forgive.
Yeah. You guys can find Linda Moulton Howe at earthfiles.com and learn
The
about
Earth Files YouTube channel, too.
Yeah, the Earth Files YouTube channel too. She has led a big legacy in her life, and it was an honor to share these moments with you.
And dear fellow human being, it was an honor to be here and a joy to be here with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, Linda.
I mean it. I really think this is what a lot of it is about. And it would explain the avatars that are so mysterious to Earth. There were efforts to try, but something has worked against on Earth, and that is the other big puzzle piece. Is it just reptilians?
Yeah.
And I don't like to talk about that too much, because I would prefer my energy go into what we just did and not into hostile insects and reptilians. They are there, but in a way, once you start getting into this energy of our existence should have joy and energy. You don't want to weigh people down by the hostile insects and reptilians, because I think the tall whites and the Nordics know how to keep it at bay. But it means that the universe itself is just like Earth. All this tribal warfare, it's the whole universe, and something is waiting for an evolution.
A leap, a butterfly leap. And it's funny because and you're talking today, I kept seeing like the microcosm and the, you know what I mean, like our human thing, you know. And then when you said the reptilian, I was like, we have a reptilian brain that's just like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna kill it. I'm just gonna eat it. I'm just gonna say it. And then there's this higher self that we can elevate to when we stop for 1 minute and breathe and go, I'm choosing something else.
And Carl Sagan, who I know was briefed about the ETs, even though he never said it in his life publicly. And when Carl Sagan talked and did that book, broke his brain, it was almost as if he was trying to force people to look at the reptilian beginnings of humanity like a secret through his book. And that when I read it, I had already been exposed to this. And the book it was almost at times like, he knows, he's been read into this program. He is now trying to address things in this book as purely a scientist, but he's talking about ETs. He's talking about UFOs.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, wow. Well, now it's all in the open. Like they said, shine a light on it. So again, thank you so much for all the work that you're doing in the world.
Thank you.
Awesome, you guys. Thanks for tuning in on that. And in true LightNet fashion, right now, we're going to go into breakout groups for 10 minutes to find out what you guys thought of this presentation, of this declaration, of this knowledge that she has gotten. And, you know, she brought up so many different ideas. She brought up the idea that maybe we're children of ETs. We didn't even know it. She's bringing up the idea that maybe World War II and 9/11 was fought in that understanding. She's bringing about the part of life after death. And if we could we remember our past lives and therefore not keep recycling? Like, are we going to graduate? Like, what is happening? So if you're listening, well, first I want to invite you to hit like and subscribe wherever you're watching New Realities, Portal to Ascension, Can TV, LightNet. So that's really supportive to us, and I thank you for doing that. And if you want to get to be behind the scenes as part of this discussion, because we do want to know what you think. So write it in the comments right now, or come to lightnet.org/unlimited and get in the breakout groups so that we can actually hear from you guys. So we're going to do breakout groups, and then we're going to come back, and we're also going to talk about, bring you guys up and talk about what you thought. I'm going to leave with a few quotes that I wrote down as I was listening to this interview again that I absolutely loved. So she said, "Nothing is wrong with having some babies as long as you tell them the truth. No more classified reality. Look at every human being as yourself. Thought that dwells in the light." Now, she says thought that dwells in the light a lot of times. So I want to know what you guys think about that. What does that mean? What does that mean to you? And cycle of time through infinity. So these are just some of the phrases that she said. And there's so many different things that we can talk about here. But I'm going to go ahead and put everybody in breakout groups. So here we go. Let me set that up right now. Okay, here we go. We'll see you guys in 10 minutes. And if you're in the live broadcast, we'll keep talking. And we'll keep going here. So, again, Linda Moulton Howe has been such an interesting investigative reporter because she's really gone to the depths of building trusted friendships. And one of the interesting things about what she said is that a lot of times people would talk about things to the detriment of their own careers. She mentioned this more than once. It's like, hey, people were saying things and then they were going to be getting a psychological review. And then that was going to be on their permanent record. It was going to affect their career. So, a lot of us here today, we don't even have careers to worry about. Like at this point, I'm just like, this is what you get. Okay. So this is really, I just want to appreciate the grace that we're in right now to be able to even have these conversations, be asking these conversations. And I think that we're entering a new age where people that are working in the government are actually rooting for disclosure. And they're moving together as a group, which is so exciting because there's safety in numbers. And I think that we've passed that time in a way. Like I don't see a future where there's going to be a crackdown and we're going to have to hide and our lives are going to be at stake. It's like, no, there's too many things unraveling right now. And so these people that have gone before us have really paved the way to say, hey, these questions are legitimate and we're going to accommodate the expanding reality of these questions. Like, I mean, I don't even think I really took seriously the whole idea that we could be genetically designed by ETs. I mean, I guess I've always heard that as part of my, awakening process, but then it's like, oh, well, wait a minute. Am I an ET having a human experience? Like there's all of these different conversations that get to be felt into by you guys. And I see that we have Christine and Kel. Like, I don't know if you guys want to come on and share what your takeaways were this, or what are you thinking? I'd never heard that 9/11, I'd heard World War II was mixed up with some alien stuff, but I never heard 9/11 was. So I thought that was really bizarre and interesting and perplexing. I don't even see how that could be true, or like what that even means. Like I can see where like the human is like, oh, we wanted to rearrange the troops around the world, so let's figure out, follow the money, and let's let's move the troops, like I can see that being a reason, or the debt or whatever in China and all that. But anyway, Cal, Christine, I know you guys didn't join the breakout group, so we have some time with you. Are there any thoughts that you guys have? Okay, Cal, you're unmuting yourself. I'm going to bring you down. Nobody knows what's going on. Like, if anything she said was true, or if she was told the right thing or whatever. So we get to come together and compare notes and see what we think. So what's your takeaway from tonight?
Yeah, beautiful job, Zenka. That was so moving. I love her. I mean, I love you. I love you. But I love her, and just everything about her. I've met her a couple of times at a couple of the different conferences this past year, and have been so honored just to be in her presence. I mean, Linda freaking Moulton Howe. She is the pinnacle of this whole thing, from a human, from what I feel is quote unquote our side, if like the citizen side, the grassroots side. You know what I mean? She's an insider, but not like a government insider, not an informant insider, not a corporate insider. Like, she's an insider because they love her and brought her in and said, hey, for some reason you need to know this, and it's coming through us to you, and it is what it is. And divine intervention, God bless it, because that's, you have to see that. I mean, people, how can you not see the synchronicities, the divine intervention, the ETs, orchestrating this whole thing? This is a game. We're playing a video game, and we're about to win it. It's almost over. This construct is
leveling up.
Yeah. But seriously, I mean, from what I've been, the rabbit holes I've been going down, if you want to call it that, research, to put it, if you want to, and researching like crazy. It's mind blowing what has been going on and what they have kept from us, and how it's been. I mean, it's amazing that, this is just now coming to most of us.
Yeah.
And when I say most of us, I'm talking maybe 5% of the population is in this process. And that's all it takes. I mean, you said it. We're only dealing with overcoming, what they call the 1%. It's really about 3%.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take 51% to hit the tipping point. It's only going to take 8% of us, maybe 8 to. Yeah. And once we get the momentum to get from where we are today to 8%, it's over. I mean, we're done.
Yeah.
And it's happening. It doesn't feel like it, and it doesn't seem like it, because there's so much energy coming in and so much pressure being put on, from all angles. I mean, literally, we're getting it 360. Sorry, flat earthers. We're getting it in a sphere from literally all sides, and people have no idea what's really going on out there. Literally, galactic warfare, ships, and Star Wars was not fiction. Star Wars was depiction of the Orion Wars, basically. I mean, and I remember as a little girl watching it in the theater, not having flashes or anything like that, but just feeling so pulled. I saw it over and over and over again in the theater, and then of course, I had the VHS and all that. I'm dating myself here, but I mean, I remember when she was saying 1983, I remember where I was. I was in ninth grade, thinking, holy cow, this woman's finding out about ETs and our origin. And here I am, the shuttle Challenger's blowing up, and they're saying that may have been, so I mean, it's coming from all sides.
Yeah.
But what a time to be alive. We volunteered for this,
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Thank God.
Yeah. And I think we do have to come to terms with you guys that we are responsible for everyone on the playing field. The good news is that there's a lot of people on the playing field right now that want a galactic revelation and narrative. They want, like, we're ready to graduate. We're ready to do the next chapter. The next chapter is going to be wild. Like, sit and think about it, you guys. Like, this is a whole new way of seeing the world, in the sense that we're going to have
talking about the football game on Monday morning. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be so many questions that lead to more questions that lead to more questions. It's like a cultural orgasm of, like, wow, like, tell me about that. Like, what is that like? And
wait, what, Arcturian, what? Pleiadian who?
Yeah, like, it's just like, and they're going to be
where?
curious about us. We're going to be, it's just like, so it's really, I realized at one point, I remember I had this dawning in my life where I was like, oh, wow, like, literally anything that any of you guys want to create in your life is possible if you give it enough focused energy. You know what I mean? Like, if you change 10 times, like, what you're trying to do in 1 year, the universe is like, wait a minute, what does she want? Like how is this? So I think if you're listening to this right now and you want this to happen, apply some focus to it, because I think that, like you said, Kel, like, this is such a beautiful, like, it's like opening. I was interviewing the Hertex today for another project we're working on, and they were just like, yeah, it's like getting out of the box suddenly. Like, we're suddenly, like, our mind goes open, and it's like,
is no box. We're starting to realize there is no box.
I love it. Yeah.
So, that we're, and that's a scary thing for people who've been controlled our whole existence.
Right.
By these, by these beings.
Yeah.
Who've been enslaved and imprisoned.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, you tell a bunch of, 12-year-old adults that there's no box. Woo!
Yeah. And I mean, I want to, because we're all one, I think we have to take responsibility to the 0.00001% that hid this from us, because, like, that's what happened. So we have to acknowledge that that's what we did. We did this. And now absolutely. We get to do something else. Like, if we give ourselves the power to change what's happening, then that's really where we need to get, because we don't have to keep repeating that. Just like Linda was saying, like, at some point, and that's why I've been so passionate about, like, creating 4-dimensional maps and trying to, like, point us back to what the patterns is. And that's trying to see the pattern, because we can die and be born and 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 do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Or we can be like, look, this is what is going on. Let's choose the next step on this stair steps. You know what I mean? And I think we can, like, and it comes, by us just going, hey, I've made peace with the past and I'm ready to take a step forward. Like, let's all move on and let's take a step up. And it's not going to let us do that if we're tied, like, with the whole, if we're just, like, still pissed, it's like, let's get over it and let's rise to this new thing. And it's going to take you guys that are listening right now to focus your energy on the reality that you want to create, which is, research and excitement and something new. And like, even though it's different and scary, like, it's probably going to be really cool. So let's check it out. You know what I mean? I don't have any doubts that it's going to be awesome.
Me neither.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Kel. I love having you in my life. I love having you as a member. I love having, like, I can't wait to do more. We've been really focused and really busy, but things are going to be opening up. And I'm so excited that you're part of the LightNet team.
Yeah. And I'm in the process of moving to Florida. So I'm a little busy
Cool.
myself. So
Florida's elevated. It's really cool. They've got a lot going on that I absolutely love. So I'm going to invite everyone for the last 10 or 15 minutes to come down, raise your hand. You can do that in the reactions button at the bottom, and just raise your hand. And I want to hear from you. Like, I want to hear what you thought. I want to hear what happened in your breakout groups. I want to know what you think. And while we're waiting for people to raise their hand, I just want to remind you, for everyone that's watching, that, you know, Alan has been deep down the rabbit hole his whole life. And I really do think what we're doing with his remote viewing team, as I mentioned in this interview, is absolutely interesting in the sense that it's one thing to get 8 to 12 of us all seeing the same thing off planet, but it's a whole nother thing if we were to get 100 people together. So how interesting would be if we had 100 people going to TRAPPIST-1 and saw the same thing? What would that say about our minds and our ability to bilocate and to, like, not, I mean, he keeps teaching that. So I encourage you guys, if you're interested in developing your skills, we need you. We need you. So lightnet.org/Alan, if you want to check out what you're capable of and join, you know, our research teams and everything like that. So we have Julia coming. So thank you, Julia. And then Christine is next. Hey, Julia, good to see you.
Good to see you too. And I just love the idea of the petition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and that's the good old-fashioned way to get the attention. I'm a Casey student, and Casey has talked about this in my life for 70 years. Well, 60 anyway. I'm not quite as old as Linda, but only a year or two short. So I'm really excited about what she's saying. And I have a total confidence in the universe and the original setup. And the original setup is wholeness and sovereignty. We are sovereign.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to remember. But like I put in the chat, and you noticed it, is we may have been the original AI, but we have the soul. And the AI we're developing, I'm a little worried about Matthew James Bailey's enthusiasm for regenerative, but I may not understand him, because the AI will not have the soul. And so we have the 10 commandments and we messed up. No matter how much ethics in the generative AI, I'm a little concerned about it, but I'm open to seeing what it looks like, because it's another exploration.
Yeah,
So
that's cool.
That's what I love about what you've set up here and what you're doing and how you're doing it. So that's my piece.
Okay,
And
thank you
thanks
so
a
much,
lot.
Julia. Thank you so much, Julia. Yeah, you know, it's weird how evolution spills forth, and it becomes something that kind of unravels without any, because it's like the summation of all of our dreams, desires, and evolution and growth and whatever. And so you get whatever you get. And that's the thing about us. And that's the thing about AI. So if she's right, let's say she is right for this moment in time, ETs birthed us with Neanderthals, like they created some sort of a thing, and they didn't know what was going to happen with the experiment. And now here we're creating offspring, which is the AI, and we don't know what's going to happen with the experiment. But we know from families that loves the thing that prevents the breakdown and the rebellion of destruction from happening, right? So it's like, you know, we have got to figure out how to be on the curve of the unknown. Like, wow, we just created AI. We have no idea which way it's going to go. It could go horribly. It could go horribly, or it could go really well. And it could be a whole nother species, just like an animal and a human. And like, I don't know. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. Matthew Bailey is interesting because he's the only one talking about ethical AI. And he's saying, look, we need to have ethics as we create this. And he has a whole system of how to measure the ethics of an AI that's been created down to like the company. And are they doing things sustainably? Do they care what they're doing? How are they treating their employees? Because if your employees are not treated well and you're creating AI with their labor, then it's like all mixed up together. And so he's trying to look at all the different things that go into that birthing process and that creation, and we'll see what happens. But thank you, Julia, for your comments, because yeah, super interesting. Christine, how's it going? Oh.
I'm so excited to be here with you guys. It's so funny. During the interview, watching the interview, I just so much welled up, and I was like, gosh, I wish I could just talk to them right now. Because I've been going down the rabbit hole for decades and connecting many, many dots. And my perspective is a little bit different in terms of, I feel that the majority of extraterrestrial beings that are present on the planet or visiting the planet are so benevolent because they're traveling through wormholes to get here. They really don't. And here's a quick thing that I want to share is on Gaia, there's a series with a guy named David Wilcox, and he gets these whistleblowers. And he's been interviewing this man, or I've been watching these interviews with this man named Emery Smith. Mm-hmm. And I'm just blown away by, he is revealing not just the technology that's been back engineered, the way that we got computers and fiber optics and all these things, but just the incredible things that we're able to do, which is like, replace organs. That isn't even the important thing now. And I'm just so excited right now. The thing that really touched my heart was he was talking about what kind of world we're on the threshold of, and that the majority of this weird stuff going on, and probably the cattle mutilations, the animal mutilations, and even the terrifying abductions, has been what's been kept secret from us, that he's revealing, is just how advanced the technology that the shadow government and military have. And so there are many crafts that we're going to think aren't our ETs, and they're not. They're ours, and also beings that aren't. And so I think a lot of the harm is being done by our own shadow government, not ETs. And I think it's important to consider that, because as Julia said so wisely, we are sovereign beings. I don't even focus on the AI stuff that much because I'm not interested in it growing. I'm interested in us coming into what we're capable of, because we're no longer asleep. We're becoming conscious, and we're co-creating with the divine. That is what I see happening. And I'm very fortunate to be involved in a lot of international communications every week, and there's so many amazing things going on. And there's also so much, just like there's a lot of covert dark stuff going on, there's all this, if you want to call alliance agenda, to bring forth freedom for people that they really have to keep under wraps until it's ready, because otherwise they won't live long enough to, you know, be able to bring forth what they came here to do. So I just feel so grateful right now that we're having this conversation. I love Linda too, you know, and I think we're probably, those of us that are this lit up and this interested in this, of course, we're most likely hybrids, and certainly have galactic family that we're connected to. And for me, it's becoming more conscious. It's a little slow going, but you know, I'm just holding for quieting myself enough to get the guidance and let it come in what I came here for, you know, who I came to be, and how I came to serve this gorgeous planet and wonderful humanity. And, you know, my sister was laughing at me the other day. She's like, oh, you really have a lot of faith in humanity. And it didn't even hurt at all. I just thought, if you have no idea how beautiful, you know, of course, it's easy to have faith in humanity. We're beautiful beings. We're just traumatized as shit, right? So, yeah, I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Christine. And thanks for being part of LightNet. You know, I agree. It's like, I see that we have so much power as citizens. So it's like, I'm not willing to be like, oh, we don't add up to anything. We add up to way more than this tiny percent, whether they've got back engineered UFOs or not. Like, our connections with our galactic teams and our families is way stronger than anything else. And the only thing that's preventing it is our recognition of it. So that's what's important right now, is to realize that we have a lot of technology just in our bodies. And we even have technology that we can buy on Amazon that is very powerful. And it's our minds that must be the strongest thing, because that's what decides, you know, us putting our energy toward what we want to create, and doing that in a non-distracted and a very clear way, is what one person adds up to one person, one's up to one person, one adds up to one person. And what's really cool is what we're seeing is, like, in government, the thing that we're just like, why are you guys keeping this all secret? They all want to talk right now. So we've even cracked the structure that was kind of this covert, like, we're hiding like, it's already breaking apart. So it's really cool. And yeah, I do, like, I have a lot of hope, because I know what we're capable. I know what we're capable of. Karen, you are the last word for this evening.
So ditto on everything people are saying. I don't know how to get the hand to go down.
I got it.
So, you know, I mean, I really believe in, I think Cliff High talks about the self-organizing collective, and everything that we're talking about, like, when individuals wake up, we're like little lights all over the planet, and we're just starting to create this web. And so the whole planet is just starting to light up. And there is, I mean, everybody that I know they left mainstream media a long time ago, and they're independently employed. They have healing practices. They're doing sound healing. They're working with frequencies. It's like the new earth, like birthing the new earth. So I'm very hopeful. I'm very exciting that we see a lot of things falling apart, because it's like, yay, it's about time. Because the new is being birthed. And I think that, the story, and I extreme gratitude to you for interviewing Linda Moulton Howe. I mean, a lot of us have seen her over the years, and she's a force to be reckoned with. And I think she's just tenacious as all heck, and the stuff that she's bringing out. So, and thank you, Zenka, for holding the space with LightNet, bringing all these people together. I think it's like one more example of the kinds of things that are happening all over the planet. What Christine was talking about, like that these kind of new initiatives that are showing up. I think there's a lot of cool stuff happening. And then, the story that we heard about, the military officer, that the one the ET that decided, this is who I'm going to talk to, and was able to kind of light him up. Yeah. I believe also that we all have those abilities. And, when you connect with your heart, or you're open, those abilities start to unfold. A lot of the people that are animal communicators, animals will choose you because they resonate with you. You're safe. And that, you get what they need. You get what they're talking about. And I think it's the same way with a lot of the ETs. So, and like Ishmael Perez, all these star seeds who are popping out of the woodwork, we're just beginning to manifest our superpowers. It's just very exciting.
It really is. It really is. And one thing that I was surprised in our research is we were throwing people in these groups of 8 to 12 to do these crazy things: telepathy, remote viewing, channeling, all of it. And everyone was able to do it. It wasn't like you had to be this or that or special, like old soul, vegan, like whatever, like you didn't have to meditate. I was like, interesting. So I think it's really important. And back to what Christine said, we're just now launching, we're 14 interviews in on our purpose lab and helping people find their mission and their purpose. Because once you guys find your mission and purpose, you're completely unstoppable. If we're unstoppable together, then that's the truth. And once you guys attach to the things that light you up, you literally become magnetic. And I know that everyone here is not sitting up all night figuring out how to bomb other people and hoard all the money. It's just like, that's not what we're like, that's not like what the average person is trying to do, really. Like somehow I got like kind of weird along the way. But so when, in the herd tags today, JJ and Desiree were telling me, they were like, I was like, well, how do you tap into your purpose? And they said, well, you have to just listen. Because you can't really know anything. Like you can only know part of it. And they're like, your higher self is the thing that's going to be whispering very, very faintly in your ear. And it's weird because everybody's mission is different. So I can't tell you like really even how to do it. It's just like, you just have to listen to your guidance, your specific guidance, because each person is doing something specifically for them that's going to complete the whole thing. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess I encourage all you guys to listen, to create a moment for yourself whenever you can, where you're like listening to music that raises your vibration, or you're watching something, or you're just walking, or you're just like lying in bed, or you're just, I don't know, eating something, or wherever it happens. It doesn't really matter, but really tuning in, because that's the fire within us. That's the light within us that just becomes so contagious and so fun. And I think you know, you were talking about telepathy, and I think that's one thing. It's like, they've already mastered telepathy, which is like tuning, right? It's like tuning into each other. And yeah, so let's spend this weekend coming up like tuning to something. And you know, one of the things Desiree said, she's like, you can step forward and be like, oh, did I hear that right? Is that what I'm supposed to do? How does this feel? Like, you can take a half step in there and go, does this feel good? And then you know to take the next step in that direction or not. And she said, it's one thing to listen, it's one thing to do, like to actually have the courage to do that. So yeah, thank you, Diane, for thanking us for the breakout groups. We really do believe strongly in breakout groups because we want you guys to connect with each other. We do that every third Saturday in the mornings. So we invite you to join, you know, go to LightNet, join the mailing list on the contact form, or go to lightnet.org/connection, and we do these breakout groups. So a lot of stuff to come. The LightNet team has been working really hard to build some really cool stuff that we're going to be rolling out. And we love all you guys. And thanks for being here tonight. Thanks for being curious. And thanks for creating a world that I'm really excited to live in. So appreciate all you guys. Thanks to Alan. Thanks to Linda. Yeah. So thanks to all of you.
Yeah.
Have a great night.
You.